when buying at a good deal, it's usually more about the situation than it is the asset.
Today's episode is brought to you by Lending Hand Mortgage. Kevin and Monica will help you out with any buyer needs, anything you need in terms of financing or loans. These guys are some of the best in the business. They put on some great events, top-notch marketing, and so shout out to Lending Hand. They take awesome care of us and put together such a professional studio here. Also shout out to Michael, our sound guy, for getting us straight and making us sound good and look as pretty as possible. Without further ado, welcome to episode 2 of the Getting Better podcast, brought to you by the Homestead Group. My name is Sam Wallace. I'll be your host along with Connor Parks, my co-host, and our special guest today is David Van Steen Kiest, or David Van. David's got an awesome background and an incredible journey that he's got getting to this point in real estate, and he's experienced in land as an investor, as a coach, as a mentor, and as an agent. So we're gonna dive into what got him here, and just the background and the lessons that we can learn along the way. So without any further ado, I'll let you kick us off, David.
All right.
Let us know. Just take your time and walk us through kind of just your origin story per se. So.
My origin story. Well, gosh. Background in engineering and sales. Went to school in Southern California at Cal State Long Beach. Played a little football down there and messed around with the NFL a little bit, and that didn't quite shake out, so I had to actually get a real job. Sort of started in project management and really never got into design as an engineer, and then got into executive management and sales, selling industrial machinery. And then fast forward a few years, after being an expat and working over in Europe for one of the industrial jobs, moved back to Colorado, where my now ex-wife was from, and lived there for about 18 years. Got into fixing and flipping houses and also a few rental properties. Did fix and flips for a few years. Really, I made decent money, but I really did not enjoy it. It's one of those, in my opinion, it's one of those businesses where there's not any middle ground. You go from solopreneur to a couple of people, and if you really want to scale, you kind of need to really go big and hire a bunch of people and hire your own crew. And that just wasn't for me. I didn't have a construction background. I was more into the marketing and making deals. Right. So I learned about land flipping as at the same time I was weighing going back into sales. I had an offer on the table, and I thought, well, okay. So I bought this course online and did some mailers and got some deals. And I'm like, that was really easy. Really cheap land in southern Colorado. I think maybe a little bit in Arizona. And I flipped these parcels pretty quickly and was like, this works. But I was really focused on these desert squares, this real cheap stuff, kind of camping land. And you got to do a lot of volume to make any money at those. And so I decided to go ahead and go back to work, and I thought, I'll pick this up as a side hustle later. So I did that, picked it up as a side hustle, and it took off, and I did really, really well. That was probably 2015. And then I kept it as a side hustle till about 2018, 2019. And then went full time, did pretty well, and really had a pretty good lifestyle, just flipping land. I was able to build up to where I had a staff, and then during the pandemic, as you guys are well aware, land went on steroids. And it was a great couple of years there. But since then, it's been a much more of a struggle. I think there were a lot of people at home. A lot of people decided they'd become a guru, yours truly included, as I started my coaching business, and a lot of other people did too. And fast forward 2, 3, 4 years, and it's a pretty saturated market now. I used to send out 300 postcards for a deal. Then it went to a couple thousand, 3,000. Now it's way up there. My marketing budget 10x'd, and the deals got thinner and thinner. And then when the house wholesalers started getting into it, it really got saturated and crazy. And you do cold calling, and it's purely a numbers game. But I wanted to a while back, I wanted to go back and do it myself for a little while to see what the cold callers were hearing because I was outsourcing it. And man, people are just getting so many calls. They're just sick of it. Anyway, so as it slowed down and some other life events changed, I decided to move to Tennessee. My daughter moved out here to go to Belmont to go to school and pursue her singing career. And so I decided to follow her and decided to go ahead and become an agent so that just to add another stream of income. And I thought, nowadays, the days of spray and pray marketing for land flipping is, in my opinion, gone. Those days are over. The only people that are really successful with that nowadays are those who have really large marketing budgets and doing a lot of high-end properties. But you got to be doing, in my opinion, boots on the ground, improving the property. Whether it's subdividing or clearing it, etc. And I thought that as an agent, I can get out there and utilize what I was doing as an investor to be creative. You might have, Bob and Sally who lives on a farm, and they're real estate rich because they've had that farm forever. But now they're in their 70s, they're not working it, and their house is redone, but they're cash poor. Not redone, their house needs to be redone, it's run down. And they don't want to leave, but they don't really need 200 acres or 100 acres. And so I present them with something to where, hey, did you know we can help you carve up the property, keep your house on 10 acres, make a bunch of money off the lots that you sell after we help you subdivide it, and then you can fix up your house, have plenty of cash for retirement, and you still got your house. But getting creative like that, I think that most agents don't think outside the box like that. Even seeing small lots maybe that are been on the market forever and expire and don't sell, and it's a nice property, but it's so wooded out, Susie Q needs to be able to pull up in her Lexus and be able to see on that property and even possibly pull in and stand on the property, get an idea of where the house is going to go and what the backyard might look like, and get a feel for the property. Not have to dump a gallon of bug juice on her and trample on it with a machete and rip her dress and break her heels.
That's our job, right? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think you touched on, two of the most common things we see. A lot of folks, when they inherit a property from parents that passed, and they don't understand the level of upkeep. On a large tract of land, depending on the topography and whether it's pasture or wooded, that can be a full-time job, and that might not be something that you want to sign up for. And so, that's a great angle. And then also the ability to visualize your future, as a buyer is, I think as agents, sometimes we overestimate, our clients, especially like first-time buyers, ability to conceptualize the finished product. We see it all day, every day, and then they get it, and it looks like a bunch of trees. Like what's next? And so, as many steps as you can remove between their purchase and their dream home, the more of a reality it becomes, and that can be a premium on the sales price. So.
Yeah, it's like staging a house. I never have had a problem visualizing what the room is going to look like, but people do.
Right.
That's why staging is really important. So, spending a little bit of money and clearing a property or a part of a property is really important. I know, it's worked for me. several times, and I know several other land investors where, you might have some competitive lots in the area that are for sale spread around the county, maybe within a mile or two or whatnot, and they're all wooded in. You go clean yours up and put a little entry in it. I have a buddy in Texas who, what he'll do when he has the clearing guys go out there, he also has them with, some of the trees that they cut down. He says, preserve some stumps and make a fire pit out of it and a couple of little stumps around it like chairs. And it just gives it a little, it's like staging the lot a little bit. It gives it a little
It's
appeal.
genius. Because you can enjoy that and appreciate that before you ever have a builder involved. And you can go out there and pitch a tent and have a nice campfire and have a tent or an RV or something and live it up and enjoy your land, and it gives them a recreational benefit prior to sometimes what can be a daunting timeline to get a house constructed, especially with surveyors and well drillers and builders backed up as they are nowadays.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, take us back a little bit. I was telling Connor on last week's episode, my favorite thing about doing this is you get to learn more about your guest pretty much every time. So it doesn't surprise me looking at your football background, but what position were you?
Oh, gosh, in high school I played everything, but in college I was just a kicker.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What's your longest field goal?
55 in a game.
Oh, my gosh.
65 in a scrimmage.
You might have missed your calling. You might have been the next Messi. Did you play soccer at all?
I played soccer, yeah. I didn't have great speed, though.
Okay.
So,
just the power, just the leg.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Went to camp a couple times with the Rams. Their first time they were in LA. That tells you how old I am. And the Niners once, and then had a few tryouts, but never quite. Got cut from the Rams just before the first preseason game on my first stint with them. And that one was going to be against the Niners in Japan. I really wanted to go.
Oh, wow.
They cut me that week. So, oh well.
That's awesome. We need to AI generate like a football card for you. That'd be sick. Put that on your business cards.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Connor.
Well, yeah, I kind of want to get into your land flipping business a little bit. Like obviously we know that what the landscape's like now, and you kind of touched on that, but what was it like back then? How different was it then versus today?
Boy, I wish I would have had some foresight back then to know how big I could have taken it, which a lot of guys have. There's, in fact, many people who I've coached blew by me, But I did really well for a few years. But like I said earlier, it was just direct mail, which is to me the easiest that there is. Maybe prepping it as a little, you have a little bit more upfront work and prepping the mail and especially sending blind offers. You've got to price that data, so it takes a little while to develop that skill. But when you're just sending mail out and people either calling you or emailing you or going to your website and putting their information, it's, hell, I used to get deals by the fax. There's a lot of older people own land, and I think really only about 3-4 years ago I actually shut my fax off because I would still get a deal that trickled in every now and then. But, it's so much easier than cold calling and texting and things like that. So it was really great for a while. If you put the marketing out there, you knew you were going to get deals. I never had doubts of only maybe the first couple of mailers, but I got deals back from them. So and then going a few years trying new areas, trying new price points and things like that. There were a couple of big mailers that I got skunked. So you spend $5,000, $10,000 on getting nothing. But then sometimes you're depressed about it, and then like 6 months later, a year later, one deal comes in from that campaign that you make $50,000 on, or
right.
Even. I had one deal where this was actually in the beginning of 2020, I think, 2020, and then I think it was the end of 2020. I put it under contract, sold it early 2021. This was my best deal ever, and and it was easy. I think I had, of my own time, an hour and a half to 2 hours into it, maybe. And even my assistant only had a couple of hours of time. So there was not to make this too long of a story, but I was using a Polygon tool in a tool called DataTree to pull my data. And so I drew the polygon in the part of the county that I wanted. I think it was Park County, Colorado. They don't have county lines on that. So you got to just kind of eyeball it. And so if you go over into the next county and didn't want to, I just figured if I'm setting my filter, it won't grab anything out of that county. I was wrong, and I'm glad I did, because I'm glad I was wrong, because it grabbed a lot in a subdivision near Breckenridge, the ski resort. Mm-hmm. I get a call from this guy, and I think we sent a blind offer for like $37,000, and if I remember the numbers right, and he came back and he said, why don't we make it an even 40? And he goes, yeah, I've been doing the comps in that area. So I'm like, oh, he's a sharp guy. I'm not going to get a deal. But he comes back and he goes, yeah, I'll sell it for 40. I figure your business, you want to triple your money, and the average in there is 120. And so I'm like, yes. Anyway, turns out this guy was a heavy-duty investor who bought, multi-million-dollar reels of foreclosed commercial properties. But when you buy those tapes, you got to take the good with the bad. And he had this lot sitting in there that he forgot about. And he had it since 2011, and here it was 2020, 2021. And he's like, yeah, you can have it. And so it was beautiful. He signed off. I closed on that thing. And after I ran the comps again, I'm like, this is worth way more than 120. And I called my agent up there, and she's like, oh, 240, 260, because it was a flat lot already cleared for a house. All the taps were already in, right, and it had views. So that average is averaging in the stuff that's literally on the side of a mountain.
Oh yeah.
Which people will buy up there because you only have so much land that's in that location. Right. So I sold that. So I paid 40 grand for it. After closing costs, maybe I'm in 41.5. I sold it in 36 hours for $240,000.
Wow. That'll make your year right there.
Yeah.
It did. I'm like, well, okay, it's February and I've paid my salary. Now I can swing for the fences.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's huge. And I'm surprised with him being as seasoned of an investor as he is that he missed that topography difference in valuation. But
I don't think he cared.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, take it off my plate.
Right.
So
right. That's the one, the indifference. I mean, that's where most of your margin comes from, whether it's, this guy that's just got plenty to deal with, or, a family that hadn't even been in the state of Tennessee in generations, or it's been decades since they even stepped foot on the land, right?
Yeah, I mean, when buying at a good deal, it's usually more about the situation than it is the asset.
Right.
People need money quick, or for whatever reason, or it's just something. And I've bought other lots not as profitable as that one, but where people are kind of like, yeah, I forgot I had it, and it's kind of an annoyance paying even the property tax aren't anything there, it's annoyance.
Sure.
And like they don't need the money or whatever. I've struck a couple of deals where these were also Southern Colorado properties where the person owned it for 30 years, and it had only gone down in value because of just hype from when he bought it. It went back, and it was before the internet, so they couldn't check comps or deals or anything. They got a postcard saying, buy Colorado land out west, and a lot of people got suckered back then. Anyway, so people who couldn't stomach the loss, and I thought, well, look, and I remember specifically a conversation with one guy. He's like, I do fine, I don't need the money, but I don't really want to take that loss. And I said, well, okay, if you make good money, you could probably use a tax write-off.
Yeah, there you go.
in 30 years, this thing's got nothing but going down. How long do you think it's going to take before you even break even again? I can tell you one thing, there's no development going on out there. There's nothing that's going to drive the price up. So anyway, so I bought a couple properties like that because they never thought of taking the tax write-off.
Yeah, and that removes the ego from it, right? They don't want to feel like a failure or a loser by making a bad investment. So if you introduce that strategy into the equation, it's like, oh, now it's a smart decision, right?
Exactly.
So,
It's just how they drew it up.
Yeah.
One other thing you mentioned too in there that I kind of want to almost pay homage to, talking a lot about the mailers. Obviously now a lot of the marketing's done digitally, right? It's a lot of Facebook ads and, AI callers and things like that. You still use mailers, right? And you just got a listing coming up, or a listing appointment at least coming up from a mailer, right?
Yeah. So I did just recently do a mailer, and I've got a listing appointment next week for it. And the guy has 3 properties. So it should be, if we do all 3, I'm thinking about 1.2 million worth of properties.
That's awesome.
So we'll see, all the channels work.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of how effectively, it's really depends on your budget,
Right.
So
What do you think the key to a good mailer is? How has it had so much success for you?
Well, that's a really good question. I don't know if I'm actually qualified to answer it anymore because I really haven't. The last couple of years, my mailers have not done so well. In the flipping community. So this was a different mailer because this was mailed out as an agent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first mailer I've done as an agent. I did look at some samples and talk to a company that I do mail with, Rocket Print and Mail, and asked them for some samples of what they've seen working for agents. And for flippers, we've got 3 different types of letters. You've got a neutral letter, which is basically, hey, do you want to sell your property? And then it has some other bullshit in the letter. Excuse my French. But then there is the blind offer where you spend a lot of time before the mailer and section stuff out per area in the county and do your best to get close on the comps. And some of them are also going to be way off, but it's a numbers game, right? Mm-hmm. And so where you're just making them an offer. And that's what I used to do. That's all I did when I was beginning, and you'd get these signed contracts back. Like I was talking about over fax or mailed back to you. The funny ones were always the ones that were these, like an older person, they didn't, when they signed it and sent it back, and there's a place to put their phone number, their email address, and they didn't put any of that.
So you got no way to
So
get
you
back
just
to
have
that.
their mailing address. So you try to skip trace them and call them, but a lot of times the really older folks, they have so little presence online or whatnot that they don't skip trace. So you send them a letter and say, please call me at this number.
Yeah.
So it just takes a couple of weeks. Anyway, so blind offers early in the days, they worked really well. And then a few years ago, actually a guy who I mentored, he was the first person I heard talking about it publicly, but and he was teaching it in his coaching business, and it was ranged offers. And that was, so you'd still price it out like a blind offer, but you'd word it such that you say, in your area for similar acreage, we are paying X, either X per acre multiplied by the acreage, so you're giving them actual value. Some people sending out with an acreage price. Mm-hmm. And so, what it is essentially, they'd say, you'd put in setting something, let's say you figure out what market value is, and you say, okay, let's offer 35% on the low side and 50%, 55% on the high side. And that gets more phone calls. Mm-hmm. And the premise behind that is that you get them on the phone and you sort of quantify from the low to the high. And, okay, we grade the property on a scale of 1 to 5, and it would be based on access. Is the road access paved or gravel? blah blah blah. How cleared is it? What's the topography? What are the utilities like? And so it makes it a little bit easier to sort of quantify in that seller's mind why you're on the high side or the low side.
Yeah, it gets them thinking about the value and looking at it from the investor side of it too, and almost talking themselves down too. They're like, well, yeah, it is pretty steep and it's not cleared. And so, I mean, you could always change those parameters too on the phone, right?
Yeah.
That's the nice part about it.
Yeah,
It's just getting them on the phone is always the hardest part, and that's the goal. So
exactly.
if you have to come in a little high and say, hey, yeah, a 10 out of 10 property is going to sell for this. Like, we have no problem paying for that.
Yeah.
But yours isn't a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like an offer and an offer justification all in one.
Yeah.
So we've got investors that want to sell for market value as is. We got investors that want to improve the property and charge a premium. And we've got investors that want to sell quickly and focus on speed and list, up to 20% below market value. Where do you fall in that range? And do you prioritize, speed on your A to Bs versus B to Cs, or, top dollar, or,
So what I was taught, and I still believe, is money loves speed.
Mm.
So pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered, turn and burn, turn that money.
Mm-hmm.
And so don't go out there and be the highest. You got to look at, you can't just look at, even as an agent where you're positioning it for your client, you can't just look at sold comps. At the end of the day, what the value is what somebody's willing to pay, period. And what's the market doing and what's the competition like? If you're putting a property out where there are some similar properties out there, now if you can clearly set yours apart in your marketing and there are some features like that waterfall property you looked at the other day, if there's certain features that would make that property in higher demand, then price it higher. But, if it's run of the mill for the area, you got to be competitive.
Mm-hmm.
But I was always, I always looked at stuff. I remember one time I acquired a couple of 40-acre properties in Colorado that were in an area that I'd done a lot of flipping. And right when I got them, a couple of properties came up for sale from another investor whom I knew, and he was blowing them out cheap. And so I was like, damn, because I paid a little bit more for these. And so, but I knew the areas, and I knew he'd sell them quickly. So I just didn't I waited a month to put mine on the market, and his sold, and then I put them up there at a higher price.
Okay. So that's a segue into my next question. So you said you waited a month, so you had the luxury on your option to wait a month.
Well, I didn't have those on an option. I just bought them.
Okay, outright.
Because these were I used to buy 40-acre properties for $3,000 to $7,000 out there, and then I'd sell them for 15 to 17 cash or 25 on terms.
Right.
So I'd always set it where, okay, the terms price was my retail price.
Right.
And then cash discount is X.
Sure.
But
So you weren't doing a whole lot of assignment or even A to B and B to C closing.
not at those prices back then.
Yeah.
But it's when I got up in higher price deals, then I'd do more options.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there's a sweet spot between, giving a short enough timeline to be attractive to your landowner, and also giving you enough time to properly market it. What does that look like for you? We got folks that try to do 90 days, got folks that do 6 months, and everywhere in between.
The longest you can get,
Yeah.
I used to always shoot for 180 days
Okay.
and on options, and I got them a lot of times. I got the 180, sometimes 120, and there was times I only got 90. And there was also a couple of times where, maybe I had 120 and it reached the end, and the customer easily and I just renewed for another 120.
Right.
And got it sold.
When people try to get you to move faster, do you use that as a negotiating point on price? oh yeah, I can shave off a couple months, but it's going, you know, I need a more competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I had one happen after the fact like that. This was just one, but I had two properties under contract from one seller on an option, and they were taking longer than I expected to sell, and I got an offer. I got a lower offer, and I would have still done okay, and I would have still sold them, but I went back to the seller and I said, hey, I've got a buyer, but and we could get these sold tomorrow, but I need a little bit more off my initial price. Otherwise, I got to put them back on the market and wait. And so they agreed. And yeah, you got to, every question you don't ask, the answer is no.
Yeah. So were you always transparent with your buyer about exactly what process you were doing? Like you told them up front that you were trying to sell it. You didn't try to,
It depended on my buyer or my seller?
on your seller, I'm sorry.
So, it depended a lot on the seller. Depended on how sophisticated they were. And I don't say that as a matter of deception, but you have to read the room, right? You got to kind of know your audience, and like, is this person going to not understand and think I'm a scammer because they don't understand it? Yeah. And so I think it would be it's kind of case by case. But if I had my druthers, I'd prefer to always be as open and honest as possible.
Right. Those ones are usually the easiest to work with too. For sure.
Yeah. I hear you. So I'm going to ask this question, and you might get a different version of it throughout the podcast. But if you could go back and tell First Deal David, one piece of advice based on what you know now through trial and error, is there anything in particular that comes to mind of just a lesson learned, whether it was on a particular deal or just a series of deals where you just came to an epiphany of a conclusion of, oh, why haven't I been doing this whole time? Or, something like that, a light bulb moment.
Well, I think I would answer that in two scenarios. One scenario is specific to a deal and a type of deal, and the other one would be when I started my land business, what would I do differently in the business?
Yep.
Just because I think that'll be helpful to some audience members.
Absolutely.
In a lot of different businesses, but in a particular deal, I had a property that I was optioning, A to B, ABC, and I couldn't sell it on seller financing because I didn't want to leave that much capital out there for that long, right? And at the time, I just didn't realize that there were note buyers who will buy your note at the table for the right discount. Right. So this was something I think I was going to have to pay $60,000 for it. I was trying to sell it for $120,000. Now, if I could have done seller financing on it, I could have done it. Even, I could have sold it for $100,000. But if I just sold it with seller financing at $120,000, given the note buyer $20,000 discount, and he's paying me the table, I got no money in the deal. All day long I'm doing that deal. But that one ended up expiring because I didn't realize I could do that. So, if you're doing options, realize that you can sell the notes. You got to get out there and find the right note buyer. I know a couple of guys, but they also have a lot of limitations on price point, term length, and things like that. So they won't always work. But from the business standpoint, if I were doing it again when I first started and saw some success, and not only did I have a job, so I had good income coming in on top of it, and I had some capital, I would have for sure made the investment into a business mentor, probably a land mentor as well, because I took a course, but I didn't get any coaching because I had spent so much coaching on house flipping and all that. I'm like, I'm not spending any more. I know enough about real estate, and I figured it out. But I still could have used it. but I would have gotten definitely a business coach for the overall business and really invested heavily in my marketing. Because back then, man, it was the golden age. I mean, it wasn't saturated like it is now. And the first hire would have been a personal assistant versus like a technical VA or something. It would have been a personal assistant.
Yeah, those are good nuggets, and hindsight's always 2020. I mean, we can beat ourselves up on not investing in whatever stock or crypto 5 years ago. It's just,
Right.
yeah, it's a lot more obvious now than it is at the time. But one of the main reasons we wanted to have you on is to get your perspective as an investor, because there's so many different ways to do it, and that's what makes it so interesting. And also just to get a behind-the-scenes look at investor psychology. I think, just getting a long-form look into how you think and the way you process things will help agents that listen to this and just understand like what their clients thinking through, because sometimes it looks very different from an agent perspective than it does an investor standpoint. And anytime that you can clarify those differences, you remove miscommunications and I was thinking this but you were thinking that. I mean, so yeah, that insight's like really valuable. Want to jump into the real estate agent side of your world and how it's been going, and some challenges and hurdles, maybe unforeseen, and just kind of walk us through like the process, already having a background in real estate from an investor side, and what it's been like transitioning into an agent role. You can maybe share a little bit about, I know you were with KW, what led you to KW, and you recently joined us. Thrilled to have you. What led to that decision, and just anything else you think might be insightful.
Okay. Well, so haven't been doing the agent thing all that long, I think since April. But you get a lot of insight having come from the investor side in how much more detailed that investors have been trained to create their ad copy, the high quality photos and the drones. And so, agents have caught on, and they've, especially on higher end properties, but you'll see a lot of cheap properties out there where, and I get it, there's not that much commission in it. So how much effort are you going to put into it?
Right.
But then I look at it and I go, don't take the listing if you're not going to do your client right.
Absolutely.
There's too many out there where it's like 2 sentences and a screenshot photo. It's never going to sell. They always expire, even if they're priced halfway right.
Right.
Especially if you're selling rural land, right? You got to create the vision. So that lead photo's got to be good. Got to have good photography and a nice write-up and all of that. And, more and more people are starting to do it. Of course, it's easier now with AI.
Right.
Can throw in the emojis for you and all that stuff. But that's sort of the other thing, from the agent side, when you're used to like really healthy paydays as an investor, sometimes it's hard to swallow what you end up with as a commission. Right. But it's not all one and the same, right? I'm still an investor, although I haven't been flipping that much land lately. I've been sort of focused on getting better at the realty side. But I think, everybody should have more than one stream of income. But the other thing that with most of the land investors, especially the way I was taught, sort of shotgun blast all over multiple states, all over a state in multiple states. And I certainly used to do that. And part of my philosophy then was, and I think I was taught this by someone else. I don't remember who I learned it from, but they taught have multiple locations and multiple price points so that you've always got something to sell different buyer avatars. So you got a broad range of inventory. And that always did well for me when I could, and I know you try to control it the best you can, but it's not always controllable, right? Sometimes you get a bunch of deals right here in this pocket at this price point. Well, if they're good deals, you're going to take it. And back in the day, I'd buy any good deal anywhere because I knew I could sell it. And things have changed over the last couple of years with regards to that. So, but now as an agent, you're more locally focused in your area. But I've also noticed in the last few years in the land business that is a pretty good idea also, to really focus on certain geographies and just really own those geographies and know them like the back of your hand. So part of that, it helps you in being able to quickly price it, know the area, talk the talk to both sellers and buyers, and really present yourself as a local area expert.
Sure. Yeah, we've got one investor that focuses on that a lot, and I think it helps him win more deals when they realize that he's local. It's not going to some, he's got a business name that's buying it, but it's not it's not an open door or
right,
a big corporate thing that's buying it.
Yeah. So I know we got connected. I guess it's only been a couple of weeks now. It feels like a long time because we've covered a good bit of ground, quickly, just how we like it. But you, I guess, discovered the Homestead Group on an ad. Is that right?
I think I saw one of your ads, and it was interesting because, it takes a little while to get momentum when you first start this thing, right? And it feels like all of a sudden, just since I started with you guys, all of a sudden, 2 listings and a listing appointment next week.
Oh, yeah.
I found you guys on an ad, but I had been really, I really felt like I made a little bit of a mistake. I don't want to bad talk KW, but I just wasn't a good fit with the broker that I was with. And, I primarily, commercial real estate is something that I want to start doing after I get my land niche really going here. I want to add commercial. And they were a commercial house, and so that was attractive. But there was some things where it wasn't a great fit. When I met you guys, when I talked to you, I saw you as younger, not wet behind the ears young, experienced guys that are hungry and out there doing it and open-minded to the newer ways of marketing and lead generation, and not stuck in the past like a guy who's been doing it 40 years and has great wisdom and experience, but poo-poos the new stuff.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And when you showed me your magic Facebook page, getting all those leads, that's pretty good.
Yeah, icing on top of the cake, right?
Yeah.
So, I think we saw something similar in you, where you're taking a fresh approach and a new start, and just coupling your background and wisdom along with just a willingness to keep adapting and keep growing. We know an agent, his name's Chris Raines, and that's like what's most impressive about him is he's never stops thinking outside the box. And as long as you can keep that moving, that constant, just new flow of thoughts, you're never going to be behind the curve. It doesn't matter what market you're in or what shift you're undergoing. Like, there's always a different way to make money. It's just what angle you need to take to get there, right? Mm-hmm. So, that's awesome, and we're glad that the feeling was mutual and that it resonated. We got our roundtable coming up, just like an open floor discussion, brokerage wide. We have it once a month right now, where anybody can just bring any ideas, questions, concerns, and we'll just talk without structure. We will have a handful of updates for it, but in the 10 minutes or so we got left, we'd like to get a little bit more personal. Connor ever so thoughtfully put together this beautiful script that I completely ignored. But in last episode that we had, episode 1, Connor and I talked about what we want this podcast to be, and the name kind of developed between that episode and this one. We want it to be a self-improvement podcast where we're talking about, with a real estate emphasis, of course. So our final chapter of this will be, what are you doing and what advice do you have for folks just outside of real estate for how to get better? Is there anything that just, if you had like one message or just in different categories, whichever one is most personal to you or you're most passionate about, feel free to talk about fitness or finances or your spiritual life or just intellectual, educational, staying mentally sharp, emotional, relationships with women, with your family, you name it. Nothing's off limits. We just want to hear from you and extract a little bit of knowledge.
You sure you want me to talk about women?
Hey, you choose the subject. We're here to listen. We listen. We don't judge.
That's funny. Well, you hit on all the major life areas, right? I think everybody can relate to the fact that, and certainly sometimes we're good at our habits, and sometimes we're not. We let those bad habits slip in. But I'm always the most successful when I'm having good habits. The things that the needle movers, market research, marketing, networking, things like that in your business. Okay, spiritually, for me, I'm a Christian. It's time in the Word. It's time in prayer, meditation, and fellowship with other believers, whether that be at church or in a men's Bible study or whatever. Psychological, mental, that can come from a lot of things. That can come from meditation. It can come from your spiritual side as well, and educational, so to be, so these are all things that we should have, little time blocks to get done in our lives. But then the physical, you've got physical, which involves exercise and it involves nutrition. And, especially as I've hit a certain age, I realize it's really important in order to maintain sharpness and maintain energy, especially when you got to pull a long day. You got to eat well and you got to exercise. But for me also, I feel like, when I'm exercising regularly, especially when I knock out a routine in the morning, it sets my whole day. When I'm on my exercise routine, everything else sort of seems to follow suit. For you, that might be your, starting your day off on your spiritual side, or because you like to work out in the evenings. Whatever works for you, there's something you got that when that's going well, everything else falls suit. When that falls off the table, everything else suffers as well. What was I going to say? Physical. So then nutritionally, I've actually the last almost 2 years now. I've always taken pretty good care of myself, but I wasn't aware of a lot of the toxins and things that are in our foods. A lot of the stuff that Bobby Kennedy's working on, getting the seed oils out and the high fructose corn syrup and the dyes and the sugars, realizing how damaging some of those things really are. And then you start to look back at the trends of dementia and heart disease and cancer. And it was like, you start to connect the dots and go, well, all right. So I've been on a real whole foods focused diet for a couple of years now. But the first year I went pretty strict carnivore for the first 6 months, and then gradually started adding other things back in. But it's important. We live in a pretty toxic world, but it is possible to get as much of that out of our environment as possible, both nutritionally and the cleaners we use on our clothes and our dishes and things like that. But if you don't have your health, what do you have? Mm-hmm. All of this that we're doing right now is completely freaking worthless. It's a waste of time if we don't have our health. Mm-hmm. Right. So, and the younger you start, the better chance you got it. Sure.
Compounds one way or another.
Yeah. So. Exactly. So.
Connor, what questions you got? Any?
No, I feel like we covered a lot. I feel like that's a pretty good introduction to you. I feel like we could have a whole second episode on, just one niche, diving into the coaching and stuff like that a little bit more. You're obviously a pretty interesting guy, but what goals do you have for the next year? We're kind of wrapping up Q4 now. What do you expect or hope to achieve in 2026?
So yeah, from a business perspective, it's closing a minimum of one deal a month on the realty side, and I'm going to be starting up doing the land home packages on my investor side, and so the goal is also to scale that to one a month. So got to get started so I can have enough in the pipeline to actually be closing one a month.
Yeah, got to fill it up.
So if we can go more than that, great, but I think that's realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Yeah, I like that a lot. Well, what do y'all got planned for the weekend? What are your weekend plans, David?
Nothing. I'm going to
out.
rest and relax and catch up on some work.
I hear you. That's what the good Lord made Saturday and Sunday for. So
That's right. How about you guys?
sounds spot on.
I'm going down to Athens right after this, actually.
Oh,
I'm going
nice.
down to the Ole Miss and Georgia game.
Oh, that'll be a blast.
So should be fun. Yeah.
You got family, friends down there?
My grandparents live there. Yeah.
Nice.
So they've been longtime donors of the school and get treated pretty well for it. So we're going to some endowment dinner tomorrow night. Get to hang out with, coaches and athletic directors and players and things like that. And then
Cool.
Saturday we're going to tailgate and go to the game and just enjoy all that.
Fun. SEC football, man.
Can't beat it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm jealous. I'm still trying to figure out how to juggle, and I'm still learning this principal broker role, and so I will be working and catching up and keeping my head above water, and it's just it's a blessing to be busy and have to figure it out. So it's in no way a complaint. I'm grateful for the opportunity and the privilege to have my hands full. So
Nice.
we'll keep growing. I guess we'll wrap this thing up.
I got to say one thing,
Go
though.
for
I
it.
got to plug your brokerage, man. I mean,
Please do.
I another thing that really attracted me, I love the 100% commission and no fees.
Yeah.
Especially when you're starting out or you're in a lull.
Yeah.
Shelling out $300 to a month gets old after a while.
Absolutely. Yeah, we appreciate that, and we love it too. We're agents as well, and so when we get to keep our commission, and that's not just because we're the boss. It's the way that the structure is for everybody. It's nice, and we're passionate about it. Our model is not designed to make money on the front end, and so we are not financially motivated because there ain't no finances to motivate us right now. It's designed that way, and so what gets me through every day is just the passion of wanting this industry to be better, wanting to make it better, and having the ability to be disruptive in a positive way, and just make it agent-centric, agent-focused, and agent empowering. So, 100% commissions, no splits of any kind whatsoever. It's daunting, it's scary, it hasn't been done before, but it is doable. It's been done in other industries. Real estate's one of the last dominoes to fall. So we're just super excited to lead the way there.
Yeah, no,
Cool.
It's very exciting, and to your point, like it works for you, the new agent that hit the lull. It works for seasoned agents that have their own tools and systems and resources. It works for us, works for everybody, works for the new agent, works for the experienced one, and covers the whole spectrum.
Yeah.
There's not anybody that it doesn't work for that we've found. We've got kind of the whole range of agents so far. So
Yeah. I talked to a friend the other day, and in fact, she should be calling you guys, but she has got to do some other things right now for a job to bring in income, and she was a new agent, and she was going to retire her license,
Right.
and I'm like, well, I got an alternative for that. You don't have to go through all the rigmarole to re-establish it and everything, and go with these guys, and then cost you hardly anything to hang your license.
Of course, we don't require you to be a member of the national, state, or local association. So that's close to $1,000 right there that you're saving as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just really cool, and we thank you for being our first guest, and
Thanks for having me.
yeah, it's off to an awesome start. So, without further ado, we're going to hop on over to our brokerage call and
All right.
get ready for that. But guys, thank you all for tuning in. If you make it this far in the podcast, it's much appreciated. So, y'all stay tuned for episode 3 and our next guest we got coming up, and we'll keep this thing rolling.
Absolutely. Thank you again, David.
All righty.
See ya.